Hey all, Pixel here in Pro Garage, and I'm going to go pick up some van parts. Someone is selling the complete front cross member with all suspension for another 95 van. I don't need it, but it means I can rebuild that one and then swap it into my van instead of tearing my van apart, redoing everything, and then, eventually putting the van back together. So I like that ability to do shit in my own time. Thing is, I need the trailer, which is very buried. It hasn't moved in a while. And it's going to be the first time I hook it up to the van. I think. Honestly, I can't remember. No, I've used it on the van before. Anyway, I need to hook it up to the van, and I need to get going. So, yeah, we're going to get doing it.
One hour later.
Wiring on the trailer's not working, and that distracted me thoroughly enough. I forgot this was stuck to the side of the van. So credit to GoPro for their mount staying on when I half-assed it and stuck it in place. But got the part, strapped it back to the trailer. Real nice guys. They were still the product because they're doing a four-wheel drive version. I got a 95 van. So yeah, I've got the entire, like literally everything from it. I didn't film it out there because, they're private property, they're private life. They also had like a pristine 71 front-end rail bumper. They literally saw it off the front of the very, very nice. They were unsure whether they were using it or not. They got a perfect rail with the bumper. Great. Make nice clean, but well. They also had a like I want to say 74-ish regular, like not a shorty like this van, no window side van that they were looking to sell, but I don't need a second van. Yeah, just cool guys, really neat stuff. Good talking to them and all that. Sorry I'm blathering because I'm mostly paying attention to the road. But yeah, when we get home, I will show you what I got. It's not super exciting, but score parts. And I'm finally home. So this is what I picked up. It's the entire front cross member from another 95 G20, which is what my van is. Came with everything. The only thing that's not here is the pitman arm, just because it was a separate piece and I didn't need it because I've already replaced that, so I left it behind. But like, brake line, like it is 100% complete. Realistically, the only things I need are this front cross member and the upper and lower control arms to rebuild. The whole point of this is that I can tear this apart, completely rebuild it, and then just swap it into my van in place of mine, instead of having to tear my van apart and wait to drive it again until I get it all done. Yeah, but this is complete. Brakes on outwards. I have lowering spindles that are going to go in. I've got all the stuff to rebuild the upper and lower control arms. This is from a Southern van. the guy I bought this off of was building a 4x4 van, so he'd actually gone down south and bought himself a nice clean van to start with. So I also don't have to worry about rot on this the way I might have to, either with parts from a local van or from my van, because sometimes the lower control arms rot out. So I have to figure out if I'm disassembling this on the trailer and taking it off in pieces, or how to get it off the trailer. But good project, because that'll just make my life easier, because now that can take a while and I won't care. I also, while I was out, stopped somewhere completely different and picked up this little cargo thing that sits in the back of the cube. Don't know if it's actually going to be as useful as I think it will be, but for 20 bucks I was willing to try it. Alright, I started disassembling this, as you could tell, and I realized partway through that there was going to be a lot of tension in that spring, and got kind of paranoid. So I loosened these two a little to give it some room to go up, but then I added this strap over top of it, and then as my friend Chris and I were discussing it, we ran this tow strap through the spring in two places. It's under the trailer. It's run, one loop is run through the other, and then that other loop is held by the wrench, so if it popped violently, the spring wasn't really going to be able to go much of anywhere. And it did pop, but not as violently as I was afraid. There's still some tension on it because this has a little bit of tension on it now, so now I kind of gotta, yeah, but that's at least a safer way to do it. I mean, I'm justifiably scared of car springs. You do not want to fuck around with them. You can hurt yourself really badly. But that's now got the dangerous tension out of it. And I'm going to have to do the exact same thing on the other side. The bottom ball joint, which is the one I thought was going to pop and release it, popped. And then I loosened the nut on it. The nut came off. And I pried it. It moved up a little bit. And then it's jammed there. But it's now up so high I couldn't pry it with the pickle fork to try and get the last tension off. So I think now that the pressure's off of it, I'll be able to unjam it and get the spindle off of it. But all right, hang on a second. One of these. There we go. So I just undid the U-bolts that hold the lower control arm on. Oh, it's another day. Sorry, forgot to mention that. Got to bullshit with my friend and unloading what he brought for me, which will be a different video. So it's another day. But the upper and lower ball joints I popped yesterday. So I was getting the U-bolts off now. And what you heard whirring when I turned this on is an induction heater. I bought this off Amazon. I don't remember which one. I literally looked for all of them and looked at the one that came with the most end bits and bought that one, because these are what fit in that, and they're both a wear item, and having a lot of extra ones gives you lots of more options. But I used those on the bolts, and I love this thing. I used it on that to change some, I changed the rear caliper, and the caliper bracket, the two bolts were badly rusted in place, and I heated it up with this thing and they came right off. Same with this. These U-bolts, put that thing over the nuts, heated them until they turned black, and then hit them with the impact, and that trapped under here. But the ends of these, they're going to look much nicer than they did then, but maybe it'll be obvious. Oh yeah, one of them's kind of gone, like the ends of these were rusty, like where it's stuck out. Maybe this, yes, you can see it on this side, see how crunchy those are. And once it was heated up, did not care. Impact took it right off. Maybe the impact would take it off without, but turn some lights on. Maybe the impact would turn it off without, but that thing just makes it easy. Just bolt comes right off, don't care. So the lower control arm is now free, which means the spring is also now definitely free. So now I feel much safer. You can see I've moved my strapping over to this side because I'm going to pop those in a little bit, but I realized I wanted to make sure I had all the tension off of this side. See how that spring's tension is completely gone. I definitely will harp on this again later, but these lower control arms on these vans for the G20s are not available aftermarket. You have to rebuild it. You have to put a new ball joint in it. You have to put new bushings in it, which sucks because the bushings are a bastard to do from all reports. But people will tell you, especially keyboard warriors, and in my particular, what I've noticed is old boomer keyboard warriors, will tell you that a variety of different things fit, and they're lying in every case, or they're just wrong, but they don't want to admit it. This is a pet peeve of mine. They'll tell you that the C20 arms fit. They don't. They don't fit because this shaft on a C20 is 1.5 inches thick, and on a van, it's 2 inches thick. Does not interchange because if you try and bolt up a C20 arm, it just flops around in that U-bolt. Is not solid, is not safe, does not work. And then some of them will be like, oh, you can just use the G30 arm, which also doesn't work, uses a different ball joint. That uses a 1.5 inch shaft, but it's a totally different shape to this. This is not, like, this is a different shape. But again, 1.5 inch shaft will not fit a G20 with a 2 inch shaft. Why Chevy decided to use a 2 inch shaft for the lower control arms in the vans, nobody knows. The only other thing that ever used a 2 inch shaft was the 2-wheel drive C20 Suburbans, and not even all of them. That was the only other place where this was used. But yeah, it does not interchange. You have to rebuild a G20 lower control arm, which is the main reason I've got this, is because I can rebuild those without having to take that off the road. So in case you've never seen one of these inductive heaters, basically it's whirring right now because it's keeping it cool. These are basically, they induce a inductive magnetic field in whatever this stuff wraps around, if it's metal, and that basically excites all the, like, it's to do with magnetism, I don't know the exact details, but it basically makes the metal, the iron molecules, or whatever the hell they're called, sorry, my brain's not working, vibrate really quickly, which makes them heat up, which therefore produces heat, but inside the thing itself. And that's how this loosens stuff up. These little coily bits are changeable and modifiable. Like, I can do that, or I can swap on another one, and I'm going to speed this part up. Hopefully this will show up with the Dan. If I put this over and push the button, that light just goes on to tell me that it's on, and you really don't see anything, but as it heats up, you'll see the color change. I'm only going to go to black, not to red, but you'll see the color change. I will just shut up and fast forward this part. And there you go. It's now smoking. It's actually a little bit of grease on it that's smoking. Let's see if I can just do this. Nope, not quite. But got my spiffy little push bar here. And that's loose. Did that one need it? I don't know. But does it just make it easier to get basically everything apart? Yes. And I did keep track of how many shims this thing has in it, which, judging by the fact it has 5, I'm not sure I trust this control arm, but then again, these vans are sloppy enough that could be perfect. That could have been factory. But yeah, I'm going to keep tearing this thing apart. I'm not going to film because it's boring. It's just monotonous. And once I get this all torn apart, I can get it off the trailer for one. Right now I can't lift it. I still may need to get the engine crane to lift the crossmember itself, but I'll have a chance once it's stripped down, and then I can start pulling ball joints out, pulling bushings off, de-rusting everything, cleaning it up, and then start on the reassembly. So I'll pick you up once I'm doing something that isn't tearing this apart, unless there's something interesting that happens. Alright, crossmember is completely stripped down. The only things that haven't been removed are the nuts and little plates there, just because it's a convenient place to store them. Right now the brake and hub assembly is all in one piece because I'm not sure if I'm using these spindles or not. So I haven't bothered to tear those down. Everything else is over here. So the next thing that needs to happen is I need to start ripping ball joints and bushings out of these. I wrote down how many shims I had on in what location. The towers for the motor mounts, as far as I can tell by looking under that, they're different on the van for the 4 point whatever it's got versus this was a V8 van. So I'm probably not going to reuse those, but I'm going to hang on to them until I know that for sure. This is going to need to get degreased, derusted, and then painted, but it's gonna take me a bit. That's the whole reason I bought this thing, was so that the amount of time that this is going to take is not going to be time spent without the van being drivable, because that would suck, because then I'd have multiple vehicles that are in pieces and I can't drive. I make choices. So yeah, that's it for right now. I will pick this up once I am on the next step. All right, another day, same shirt, because I knew I was going to get disgusting today. So this is the crossmember. It's upside down right now, and what I'm doing is getting all the loose surface rust off of it. You can see my various implements of destruction here, and I am not trying to get back to a shiny surface. It's not worth it. What I'm trying to do is get all the loose powdery rust or scaly rust or anything like that off, so that when I put paint on it, it can stick to something solid. There's no point in sticking paint onto scale, because the scale will flake off and then it'll be exposed. I don't have to get this perfect because it's already lasted 30-something years like this. So if I get that loose rust off and I get a good couple coats of paint on it, it is way better than it was beforehand and should last a good long while. I'm trying to get all up in here. I've worked my way in there as much as possible. I keep finding little spots that I missed, but I think I might have to call it, because it's looking like rain and I don't want to obviously get this wet now that I've exposed the metal on it. So I think I'm going to hit a few more little spots that I can see and then call it done on this side, get it inside for safety, and we'll work on the other side another day. All right, another day, more work. I didn't film before I did this because I had both the compressor and the media thing going, and they're both deafeningly loud. But the entire top of this has now been ground down as best I can, and the whole thing inside and out, top and bottom, has been sprayed with the phosphoric acid to treat the rust, and then been wiped down with a rag that's damp with the same stuff, just so that there's no puddling, because the phosphoric acid, if it's allowed to dry completely, can be painted over, but if there's puddles such that there's residue, that can't be painted over. So this just gives me a paintable surface. This is going to sit until tomorrow to dry out. Hopefully the weather cooperates, because the Master Series paint I want to use for at least parts of this can't be used when it's wet, or it just ruins it completely. So that's done for right now. There's nothing more I can do on that. I'm working on my little shaky media blaster thing there. Is working its way through the hardware to make that a little nicer. So at this point, I'm going to start stripping control arms. I don't really want to, because I just don't want to deal with grease and mess right now, but I have to do it, so let's do it. So, actually, wait a minute. Do I have a kit? Okay, I do have a ball joint kit. So, yeah, I'm going to get started on stripping these down. I don't know yet whether I'm burning those bushings out, drilling them out, or what. I just haven't decided yet. But I guess I'm going to start in and see what's going to be like, and then kind of make a decision from there. All right, I've got the ball joints pressed out of the lower ones. I've got the rivets ground out and the ball joints off the upper ones, but I'm not going to be able to get the shafts out tonight because I realized I need more Tools. So the instructional videos I was watching online was to do these, how to do these for a truck. And they have a thinner shaft that fits through the bushing part of this. So they talk about burning out the bushings and then pushing the shaft out and then cutting the metal sleeve and banging out the little pieces of it and stuff. But that's not going to work because this van 2-inch shaft is the same diameter as the metal sleeve. So what's going to happen is I'm going to have to put something in here to support this from being crushed. And then put this whole thing in a, you know, like a cup on the end here, and put this whole thing in a press, and press out the shaft with the sheath on this side so that I can then take this bushing out that way. So that's fun. So this has a dent in it. That bothers me. And then this one, similar sort of problem in that there's a washer over here. That means this thing can't be driven completely out that way. The best that can happen is it can be driven this way, this bushing can be removed, and then it can be pushed out that way, and then this bushing can be removed. But that's a whole other thing that's going to, again, require additional work. So I'm done with these for today. I made good progress. I've got the ball joints out. I've got that ready for paint tomorrow once the last of the acid's done its job and evaporated. The first of the U-bolts has come out of the tumbler and been wiped down with phosphoric acid as well. So those are going to dry and then they'll be ready to just get a little bit of paint on them. And then I can put those aside. So yeah. This is trucking along. I'm very tired and I'm very hot and sweaty. So I think I'm going to go inside and have dinner. So guess who did all these days of heavy work on this stuff with a sprained ligament in his hand? This guy. Yeah, turns out I had sprained one of the ligaments in my hand days ago. It's been aching a little bit, and I hadn't really thought anything of it. And then yesterday my hand was all swollen, so I had brought it in. I brought myself in and checked it out, and turns out, yeah, I sprained a ligament. So that's going to limit what I can work on because hammering and grinders and all of that stuff, not an option. So, also, and to add to this, the day before that, I backed into the Prius with the cube and crunched the hell out of it. This was all bent out of place. I already fixed it. And the hubcap is now missing on this side, but when I walked out to see that, on my way around the car, I discovered that the hubcap on this side was missing. This is the hubcap on that side. So I moved it over there because then I'll mess this up. Yeah, so in the same day I managed to hit our other car and lose a hubcap. Fortunately, the Prius came off way better in it. This is a minor dent and this is a dent and scratch, but I can buff that out. Ditto for that and that. This is something I'm going to have to touch up, but this is already scratched. Really, the worst thing is it doesn't clip in there well anymore, and I'm not sure yet whether this is damaged or whether the piece in there is damaged, but it's not going to fall off. So it sucks, but it's way better than it could have been. So after not quite the best couple of days, I'm back out here, but there's very little I can do. The method for getting the bushings out of those, I did some more research and found out it's a bad idea. There's a guy on YouTube has what's supposedly a much easier method. I'll link to his video if it works. We'll get to that in the future. But I don't want, if anybody's just watching this video, I don't want them to be like, oh, that's how I do it. But it's not. So what I'm going to do is paint this. The other U-bolts are in the thing. And then that's going to be it for the time until this heals, which is going to be at least like my doctor kept upping it. First it was 7, then it was 10 days, and then it was 14 days. So I think that's more, he heard what I do and was sure I was going to mess it up some more and then it was going to take longer to heal, which they're not wrong. But I'm going to try and be good. That's going to get paint. All right, a couple of days later. Yeah, this is going to be here for a while. I did manage the same day that I filmed the other bit to put 1 coat of Master Series on all the sort of at-risk areas. As much of the inside as I could possibly reach, especially concentrating on the inside of the seams where the 2 pieces meet and the flat inside flat bottom of this where stuff can collect, as well as like around this pocket on the inside and stuff. I tried to get, same on the outside. In here, I tried to get as much as possible. I didn't do everything because I didn't want to, there's no real need to do everything. Like all this had very light surface rust, and in the middle especially, like any, you know, nothing's going to collect there because of its shape, and oil drippage from the engine or whatnot is going to keep that pretty safe. So, oh, I also like filled this with paint as much as I could by, you know, really globbing it in there. So I'm pretty confident that, I mean, if nothing else, it's way better than it was. Pretty confident in that. So the next thing I've got to do is get my outer coat of paint on it to protect this. So for that, I'm just going to use straight Rust-Oleum. Nothing fancy because again, it's still better than what was on there. My plan, if I can, my plan is I've got one of these, which is just a, you know, it's a standard paint cap, but it's got a 360-degree nozzle on the other end. I'm going to try and tape up all the various bolt and drain holes on that, and then hook this up to a can of Rust-Oleum and just spray the crap out of the inside, so hopefully I get paint on top of what I've already put in there in everywhere, because trying to do it with a brush, I actually further messed up my both hands trying to get the brush in there at all those weird angles and whatnot. I don't know what I did, but yeah, I fucked up both hands. This is just the really bad one. So I'm going to do that to get it on the inside, and then the outside is going to get some combination of spray paint and possibly brush paint. I don't really know yet, to seal all that up, and then this thing is going to just kind of sit until I'm ready to do the other stuff. It was a mess. This opening is a different diameter than Rust-Oleum uses, apparently. So about 75% of the paint went into this, and the rest of it went everywhere, including all over my hands. You can see even after cleaning them how bad they are. But I did get, you know, in here pretty good coat. I'm going to go in, you know, and do some more, but this definitely got more paint in there consistently than I could otherwise. Also, the parts that you can see more easily are the parts I was less concerned about getting paint on, because I can obviously paint those. But it, like in this section, I went over it multiple times, so that should have a good coat of it in there. I cleaned this out, by the way. This stuff, high power spray gun cleaner. I love this for cleaning my HVLP guns. It's so much easier than trying to do it with something else. This will get 99.9% of the stuff out without any scrubbing. I love it. Anyway, that one's empty. So yeah, this is going to dry now. Tomorrow or whatever, whenever my hand feels like it can handle it, I'm going to come out and peel all that tape off and paint one side of it, let it dry, roll it over, paint the other side of it, you know, do a couple coats that way. Yeah. But I'm not going to show you just that, because I'll show it to you at the beginning of the next one when I'm finally working on this stuff again. So I think that's going to be it for now. Thank you all very much for watching, and I will talk to you later. Bye.